It's the Daily Doug.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Daily Doug for what is going to be our Behind the Score episode number 66. I am pleased to be returning to the Behind the Score series this month. We didn't do it last month. I had COVID and I took that week off. And so I'm excited to get back to doing a little score study and analysis with y'all today. I am doing an analysis to the piece that I had planned to do last month. It's a very enigmatic little tune, and I'm really excited to get into it. So the story of today's episode starts way back in the fall of 2001. Megan and I were newlyweds. We had gone through 9/11, living here in Jersey. I was in the middle of my master's degree program, so things were strange. You know, we were happy and starting off our life together, but the world was a little mixed up, you know, and so we decided, life has to go on. Let's go to the movies. So we went to the movies and saw this romantic comedy called Serendipity. And we love the movie. It stars John Cusack and Kate Beckinsale. It also has a great supporting cast, including Eugene Levy, who's one of our favorites. No spoilers, y'all, but later on in the movie, there is a song called Northern Sky by the singer-songwriter Nick Drake that is used as accompanying music within a scene. And I remember really liking that particular song. I loved its sound. I loved the texture of it. I loved the intimacy of it. I loved his vocal quality. It was soothing. It was warm. It was really, really fantastic. And for some reason, I never really looked up who Nick Drake was or searched out more of his music. And I do know that Megan has ventured into some of his music, but I know very little about him except that I love this particular song of his that was used in this movie. So fast forward to earlier this year, y'all, back in a Doug on Demand episode in late March, our friend 80 played the song Riverman by Nick Drake. And again, I was mesmerized by the sound of this musician's music. By the end, there was really excellent notation that was included and embedded into the video that 80 played. And so at the time, I had vowed to return to the song and really spend some more time with it and look into it. And like I said, I had scheduled it for last month, but it got postponed, and I'm excited to dive in to it with y'all today. So let's get to it. Nick Drake was a singer-songwriter from England. He landed a record deal while still attending the University of Cambridge. And this particular song that we're going to look at, Riverman, comes from his debut album called 5 Leaves Left. And it was it was released in the summer of 1969. I believe he recorded it during 1968. He would go on to record 2 more live albums. Brighter Later is from 1971, and Pink Moon is from 1972. And then he basically retired from live performing and from recording. Throughout his life, he suffered greatly from depression, and sadly, he died at the young age of 26 in 1974 due to an overdose of antidepressants. It's really sad because his music is wonderful. What I've heard so far. And on this track for Riverman, his producer recalled that he would often prefer to track live without the use of any overdubbing. So for this recording itself, from what his producer recalled, Nick was playing, he sat on a stool in the middle of the studio, and he had his guitar and he had a microphone, and he sat and he played and he sang, and he's surrounded by this small ensemble of unnamed string musicians, and they just record it. They play it down. And from what I remember hearing, it's breathtaking. It absolutely is breathtaking. And so what I want to do is go back and be familiarized with this song. We're going to watch it. We're going to have the notation accompanying us as we go, and then we'll talk about it. We'll dive into some of its secrets a little bit. We'll listen to it again. We'll break it down, and we'll have a good old time. Nick Drake is on the vocals and acoustic guitar. Danny Thompson is on double bass, and Harry Robinson is responsible for the string arrangements. Nick's friend named Robert Kirby did the arranging for the whole rest of the album, but Robert encouraged Nick to bring in this guy, Harry Robinson, to do the arrangement for Riverman. Harry, the guy that did the arrangement, was a band leader. He was a music director and a composer from Scotland. And he had worked on several British television shows. He had worked in musical theater. He'd worked in films. So he was a pro and knew what he was doing. So we get a real arranger here that knows what he's up to, helping us with the string arrangements. And then we get Nick's great song and performance. So let's get to it, friends. Sadly, we do not have a listing of the names of the string players who played on this recording, so I won't be able to name them, but I can name the music professor, which is the YouTube channel that produced this little analysis video that we're going to follow along with. So shout out to them. I remember it being quite usable and user-friendly for us. So let's get to it, y'all. This is Riverman, and it's from Nick Drake. Here we go.
Betty came by on her way, said she had a word to say about things today. And fallen leaves.
There's your progression. Re-rack.
Said she hadn't heard the news, hadn't had the time to choose a way to lose, but she believes.
Strings come in.
Gonna see the riverman, gonna tell him all I can about the plan for lilac time. If he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, and all night shows in summertime.
Look at that! We'll talk about that later. As they say, instrumental interlude here, descending line from the strings, using the same progression. They changed the clef on us, right? Bass clef now. And the cello's lowest note. Yeah, there it is. Almost. Can't really sing it today.
Betty said she prayed today for the sky to blow away, or maybe stay. She wasn't sure, for when she thought of summer rain calling for her mind again,
Counter melody in the violins,
she lost the pain,
the tremolo.
and stayed for more.
Yeah.
Gonna see the riverman,
Back into the
gonna
lower
tell
voicing
him
for
all
the strings.
I can about the band, and feeling free. he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows. I don't suppose it's meant for me.
Listen to that.
Oh, how they come and go. Oh, how they come and go.
Mixing major and minor, and then this, what they call a mystery chord. I'll get to that soon enough. And there's the piece. Isn't it remarkable? It's absolutely remarkable. Good job, music professor. A lovely video. I'm going to stop that and rewind it so that I can be ready to get back to it, to hear it when we need to. Let's discuss a few things first, though. I'm going to get my notes up here. So, there's a 4-chord progression going on here, y'all, but it's not a normal 4-chord progression or a traditional 4-chord song, right? We think of a 4-chord song. If we're in C, we go to maybe 1 to 5 to 6 to 4, and then, right? Right? It's not that kind of 4-chord song, right? But it is in C, and what he starts off just strumming an arpeggiation of a C major chord. He's got that added ninth, the D in there, but when the progression actually starts, it turns to a C minor chord. And he's got the added ninth in there, the D up against the E flat to give us that crunch in the voicing. Turns to that C minor chord. The next chord is E flat, dominant 9. Okay? What does that mean? E flat's the root, G's the third, B flat's the fifth, a major triad with the minor 7th. That makes a dominant E flat chord. I'm going to stack another major third on top of it and get the F, which is the 9th above the E flat, and that ends up being an E flat dominant 9. It resolves to A flat. E flat is dominant to A flat. If you take the top 3, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 note chord. If I take the E flat out and just leave the rest of the notes, G, B flat, D flat, and F, it's a half diminished chord on G. It's the leading tone chord in A flat that leads to A flat, right? So either way, it works, and it's got that pull towards A flat. And A flat's where we go. But we go to A flat major 7, an open, lovely thing. Perfect 5th, another perfect 5th, 2 perfect 5ths in that chord, a very stable and beautiful chord. And then a straight resolution back to C major add 9. So we start with C minor, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoop. Ha! 4, 5. Yeah, right? And the cool thing about that resolution, we start off in C, we go straight to C minor. Still the same key, we're just mixing up major and minor, right? And then from C minor, we go to its 3 chord, the 3 chord that's in C minor, right? E flat. We make it chromatic, though, by adding a D flat, which isn't in that key of C. It adds the flat from A flat, and that's what gives us that resolution to A flat. Once we get there, we take the third of the chord and the major seventh of the chord, which is a C and a G. And we just leave them and go right back to the C chord. That resolution from A flat major to C major is a chromatic third resolution. We've talked about those some before as well. What else do I want to talk about here? Let's see. Yeah, so what's the difference between C major and C minor? Are they two different keys? Traditionally, the way that we think about them, yes, they're two different keys, but because they have two different scales. C major, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. The minor, if I use natural minor, adds in some flats, right? However, if we just take the main constructs, the main pillars that point to C as a tonic, right? If I'm in C major and C minor, or C minor, C is the tonic both times. D is the 2 chord, or the supertonic in both cases. F to C, subdominant to 1, and 5 to 1. They have the same 5 chord, right? G major to C minor, or G major to C major, right? The F is minor to minor, or major 4 to minor to major 1. We could do minor 4 to major 1. We can mix them up. So what we ended up being able to do and realize is that there's really not much difference between C major and C minor. A piece is in C, and we can make easy use of mixing the scales from C major and C minor together. We call it modal mixture. We're mixing the modes based off of the same note, and then gathering chords that can add color without really changing the key. If we switch from C major to C minor, we haven't changed keys. It's still in C. We're just using a different mode based off of the same note. Cool? Cool. So that's one of the ways that he's able to bring in this really exotic color into this song. What else do I want to talk about? Some of the melodic contours. He's got a very simple way of delivering the melody, doesn't he? Because there's 4 chords, he's got 4 little melodic fragments. When he's doing the first one over C minor, if I remember right, yada ba da dum, just G to C, sol do, sol fa sol do do. When he goes to the E flat chord, right, he takes the B flat, the 5th from that note, that chord, yada be da 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 dum, right? Some of the same notes, B flat, C, G, F, G, B flat, G, but moving down a little bit from where he was the first time, right? Then when we go to the A flat major chord, to that major 7th, he starts on the added 6th, ya, to the 7th, down to the 5th, ya da da dum, still kind of edging down with the 3rd phrase. And then when we get to the C major add 9, he goes down to the G and then back up to the C, the same way he did the start. So we have this opening, yada da da dum, then yadum be da 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 dum, yada dee dum, yada pum pum. There's nothing flashy about the melody, y'all. It makes sense as he starts off with energy and he lifts this thought to the heavens. He gets our attention, and then he thinks about it. He reacts to it a little bit, and then there's resolution at the end, and then he goes right back into it. It's fascinating, isn't it? And if we take all of the notes that he's using, it's basically the note, and especially if we use the A flat chord, right? He's using notes from C natural minor in his melody. Because 3 of those 4 chords, really the C minor harmony fits more than anything. But the notes that he's using, right? Those are notes, the F and the G and the C are notes that are both in C major and C minor, right? Yada-be-da-da-da-dum. The second one, he's avoiding the A flat, right? Still playing off of pentatonics, really. Then he moves to the A flat. Yada-bum. Then again, sol, do. Just remarkable, isn't it? It's really, really lovely. The other thing that I want to talk about real quick, my nose is running, y'all. Hang tight. I don't want to pick my nose on camera. That's not what y'all are paying for. So let's talk about the meter and the dynamics a little bit. We're in 5/4, 5 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5. It's kind of a swung beat, a shuffle beat. He's not playing triplets all the time. He's not going ya da 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 da. He's just going yum ba bum ba bum ba bum ba bum. So the middle note of those little triplets get left out, and we're kind of swinging the eighth notes instead of going ya da 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 da. We're going ya da 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 da. It gives it a lilt, right? But it's in 5/4, and his vocal delivery stays pretty understated and subtle throughout, right? And I saw where a music critic had pointed out that there is a similar meter and rhythmic feel in this song to Take 5 from the Dave Brubeck Quartet. And I had to think about it for a minute. And I think he's right, although it's an example of how tempo differences and the differences in instrumentation can lead a similar metrical structure and a similar rhythm to have completely different impacts on the listener. I mean, Take 5 is bum 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 ba ba dee bum bum ba ba dee bum bum 1 2 3 4 5 ba ba da bum bum ba ba dum bum bum, right? This one is slower, but it uses some of the same idea. So think about it. 1 2 3 4 5 yum bum 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 yum bum bum bum. So with 5, 1 2 3 4 5 1 3 4 5, they're doing an asymmetrical 4 like this. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 2 3 4. It's an asymmetrical 4 that just happens to take 5 quarter notes for it to happen. The first beat is a dotted quarter note. The second beat is a dotted quarter note. The third beat is just a quarter note. And the fourth beat is just a quarter note. Okay? Ya, ba, da, ba, 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 ba. And it has a feeling in 4. Ba, boom, boom. And we don't really realize that it's taking 5 beats. It feels structural, not asymmetrical at all. It feels like groovy. You know, we don't realize that, oh, this is an odd meter, an asymmetrical meter. It doesn't feel that way, does it? Because it's actually in 4. It's just doing a little bit of an odd 4. We've got 2 dotted quarter notes and then followed by 2 quarter notes. How about that? It's just a really lovely way to fill in a 5/4 meter. It's really, really great. And the dynamic, the dynamics of the piece stay relatively soft throughout. So the contrast and the pacing that we really get throughout the piece that differentiates one part from another is in the string textures itself and in the poem itself. What he's saying actually starts to come out. So friends, I'm ready to listen to this again. I'll stop it as I need to, and we'll keep talking. The mystery chord, I'll get to that after we listen to it again. So here again is Riverman from Nick Drake. Here we go. Cap. There's the added D against the E up there, right? The added 9. Now it's D against E flat.
Betty came by on her way.
There's the D flat and the F, the 7th and the 9th of the E flat chord.
About things today. And fallen leaves.
Once more without the strings. We get another chance to hear this with just vocals and guitar. Exactly the same except for the words.
But she believes.
Strings. Now,
Gonna see the
check this out. The way that he's got the strings notated here. Look at the way that those are arranged. The chord is C minor add 9. Okay? He's got a low G and then an E flat and then the C and then the G, another G way up there, right? He doesn't even have the added note, the added 9th in the strings. He just gives the strings on a C minor chord. And it's an open voicing, meaning that there's notes in the chord between each of the notes that he writes for the strings. If he starts with this low G down here, we've got the C in the chord, but he doesn't give us that. He gives us the E flat, right? We've got the next G in the chord. He doesn't give us that when he gives us the C, right? And he does. Then we have the next E flat in the chord. He doesn't give us that when he gives us the high G. So it's, there's the strings, open, right? Open. Then the guitar in the middle. While the strings just give some context to what's going on there. It's a beautiful way to just set the mood. Look at he says, strings deepen the mood. This guy knows what he's talking about. I'm going to continue on. Again, open except for the top part of the chord. Open except for the top part of the chord. Then open again, and there he gives you the added 9th. And now the next time he's giving you the crunch and the strings as well.
About the way his river flows, and all night shows. Summertime.
That! Okay, what is going on? They say Lydian dominant. I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Actually, I'll go into it after we finish listening. But what he ends up adding when he gets to the C major chord, he adds an optimistic 4th that's raised from where C major's scale would be. It's do, re, mi, fa, right? But fi. Think of it as a whole tone scale fragment, right? So we end up on this beautiful A flat major 7th chord from C minor. We're getting rid of all the flats and resolving straight to C major, and then even adding more sharps by adding the F sharp. We've gone from a key or a chord within a 3 flat or 4 flat texture to a texture with 1 sharp very quickly. It very much brightens by doing that. And the other thing that he's keeping in there is the lowered 7th. He keeps that lowered 7th in there in the chord. And we're going to talk about what that means here in a little bit, but I'm going to keep playing it. Here we go. Yeah, look at that. Now, interlude. Just descending line with the violins down the scale. makes a melody out of the chords, gives it to the cellos. Same exact line. Gets the E flat, E natural, and then might have a low C today. High. Now he gives us an open texture way high in the strings. It makes it real shimmery. The TR in the wavy line is just tremolos, right? Changes the color of it, doesn't it? By moving. Now, counter melody, he's right. Beautiful. Okay, and the detached bows. I'm going to move back a little bit. We've got to get into this little spot where he's giving us now a violin line. G to C. Now, the melody that he did, G, F, G, C, C, he does this G, C, bum, bum, jum, ba-dum, bum, just sol and do, right? As he's going there. Then what happens next, as we turn the page here, on the C minor, he can do the exact same thing. He can do the exact same thing. Because even with C minor, you can do... It can work in C major. Because he's giving us melodic notes that are from both C major and C minor. It works in either key. So when the chord shifts from C major to C minor, he can repeat the melodic contour because it still works diatonically in the new with the new chord, right? And then when it moves to this E flat dominant, we get this E flat dominant chord. Where am I at? Right? That E flat dominant. He gives us the 7th. Right? D flat, octave, down to an F, up to an F. It's just the 7th and the 9th of the chord, but in octaves. 2, 3, 4, 5. And he lets the color, the color underneath it drive the rest of it, and the melody just becomes a lovely, what we call a counter melody. It's not meant to take over and be the new melody that we think of. It's a supportive melodic structure that still gives us a secondary melody, but it's like, yeah, the strings are agreeing and they're coming in, and it gives new motion and new rhythms, and it's just great. How does this finish up? And he gives some tremolo. Actually, I'm going to go back so we can hear all of it. Let's go to here. So C major, right? Then we get
when she thought of summer,
same thing.
calling for her mind again. She lost the pain.
And these are detached bows coming up.
Gonna see the riverman. Gonna tell him all I can about the band. Feeling free. If he tells me all he knows.
This is the line that gets me. The way that he finished this.
The way his river flows. I don't suppose it's meant for me.
I don't suppose it's meant for me. And then he gives us that little mystery chord at the end, and it's tremoloing.
Oh, how they come and go.
And a little outro. Again, open voicings. F sharp to D to F sharp. What is that? Let's look at that. We've got a C, a B flat, and a G flat in the guitar. Call it an F sharp. Okay? Underneath it, in the strings, you got a C, F sharp, D, F sharp. How about that for a voicing, right? We don't need all these, we don't need all of the crunchiness, all of the seconds. We just separate them. Sorry. Right? Almost sounds like a D7 chord in third inversion. But when you put the C on the bottom, it has that weird sound to it. And then, if you keep it, if you make it a C7 chord, a C dominant 7, and then you add that in there, it's like C major triad with a B flat augmented triad above it. What the hell chord is that? Okay, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. So, the scale that we are lifting up, he is right, is referred to as the Lydian dominant scale. So, how do I want to explain this to you? If I'm in C major, okay, what's the first sharp that we add? If C is no sharps or flats, what's the first sharp that we add to get into a key with one sharp? Well, G, or E minor, is the key with one sharp. And the sharp that we add from C is the F. We make it an F sharp. Hey, that's the one that we added here. The first sharp that we add is F sharp because it points to G. Right? It becomes G's leading tone. If we take that F sharp away, it becomes F natural and we go back to C. Right? Well, if we're in C and we want to go the other way, we want to go to flats, what's the first flat that we add? The first flat that we add is B flat. Right? It creates that tension and pull that pulls us to a fifth below C, the F. Right? As soon as I turn that B flat back to a B natural, we point back to C. C, we point away from it with the flat, and we go to F. We point back to it, we go back to C. And then if we get that, so we point up, we go to G. Down, we go back to C. Right? So what a Lydian dominant scale is a combination of using both the first sharp that you add and the first flat that you add, and you put them in the major scale. If I'm in C, I'm going to add the first sharp and the first flat that I add. So I've got C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B flat, and then the C. I've got a scale with a lowered seventh and a raised fourth. It doesn't fit into any mode or any key that we have. It's not diatonic anywhere, right? You don't find F sharps and B flats in the same key. Not in traditional harmony, right? Not in traditional just diatonic harmony. But what it is a color chord. It's giving us an, first of all, when we have a dominant 7, right? Major chord, it's just sturdy, home base. You add a dominant 7th, lowered 7th, it gets to a spot that needs to resolve, right? It's a little bit less sturdy. It wants to move. And then if you add another tendency tone, these tones that introduce tension that needs to resolve, you add another bit of tension, and it's being pulled in each direction, and it can't really go either direction. It's just a little, it's unsure. It's unmoored a bit. It's at a crossroads. It's, as Yogi Berra says, it's at the fork in the road and doesn't know which one to take, right? So that's a little bit of the magic at the end there. It kind of drifts into eternity, as it says here, in a way that is resolved in C, but it's not happy. It's not sitting well. It's not really anchored. It's there. It got home, but home's not safe. Home's not sure. And it's a brilliant way to bring in that sense of being lost in the music. The other thing that you get, the one thing that I did forget to say with this Lydian dominant scale, is that it's very close. The one scale that it actually is very close to is the whole tone scale. If I take C and D and E, add an F sharp, and I've got the A sharp or B flat in there, the only one I'm missing is G sharp, right? The only one I'm missing is G sharp, and he's chosen not to do that. So with the G sharp down on the G, giving us that stable fifth between C and G, but we still get those whole tone sounds around it, right? It's a really provocative sound. So let's talk about being a little lost musically. The use of both C major and C minor in the repeating progression that we have. It reveals a tonic that is not sure how it wants to resolve and move forward. So we're muddying up home base already by switching it back and forth all the time between C major and C minor. Is it an E natural? Is it an E flat? Is it an E natural? Is it an E flat? We don't know. Let's use either one of them. And again, we use both of these tendency tones, especially in this Lydian dominant chord at the end. The B flat against the E. The B flat against the E wants to resolve. The F sharp against the C also wants to resolve. We've got two tritones really in that chord. We've got a tritone against the third of the chord, and we got a tritone against the root of the chord. So the basic chord becomes just messed up and muddled a little bit. The other thing that gives this a little unmoored or being lost sensibility is that asymmetrical 4, that 5/4 meter that we were talking about a little earlier. All of that combined together with the way that he strikes the guitar, the way that he sings, the color that he sings with, subtlety that he sings with, can then come through with all of that other stuff. So, yeah. Before I finish up, I want to talk about the lyrics here. I don't know who the Riverman is. I don't know who Betty is in the song. Nick didn't reveal either one of the characters' identity or inspiration. And so we're left to kind of interpret it in our own way. Here's the way I think about it. I think of the Riverman as a metaphor or a stand-in for something that is constant, something that is unchanging. We get this idea of the river in poetry and story. It's a metaphor in a lot of circumstances for the thing that's always been there, the thing you can count on. You know, things come and go, people come and go. The river, you can always count on the river, that sort of thing, right? The river itself is the entity that you can count on. It's the entity that endures. It's the entity that has seen it all, right? Metaphorically. And then Betty in our story is the metaphor or a stand-in for something or someone that is seeking answers, that is seeking enlightenment, that wants knowledge, that wants direction. They want meaning. And Betty is drawn to the river and to the riverman as she hopes to find a little clarity and a little comfort. And I also think of Betty as being a stand-in for Nick himself. especially with the last line that he gives us in the chorus here. The line is, speaking of the riverman, if he tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, I don't suppose it's meant for me. It's heartbreaking, especially looking back on it now, knowing how much he struggled with depression and that he ended up dying by, struggling with that. And here, Nick, through the metaphor of Betty in the lyrics, is revealing a feeling of isolation, of being left out, of being overlooked, of being ignored, of being dissatisfied, right? And it's reflecting his own struggles and his own depression. If the riverman tells me all he knows about the way his river flows, I don't suppose it's meant for me. Meaning, why am I here? All of the stuff that you're talking about is for other people. I'm just over here left out. I've got something to say. I'm a musician. I want to make my music known. Not a lot of people are listening. It must be because I'm not good or this or that or I'm just being ignored and you get into more of that depressive state. It's sad. But the melancholy in the song, I mean, we've all felt melancholy. We've all felt sadness. We've all felt this, this need to move forward, and we're seeking which way to move forward. And this is what that song is about. So it's something that I think we all can identify with. And, I'm just looking back on this. Although Nick's music did not make a huge impact during his shortened lifetime, his music has endured. And it's found critical acclaim from multiple generations now since his passing. This album, his first album, is listed as number 29 in the 100 greatest debut albums as listed by Uncut Magazine. Q Magazine includes it high in their debut albums that changed music list. There are several of these best of lists that include this album, and Riverman seems to be one of this album's primary anchors, especially since our normal arranger was like, listen, this song is really special. I need to get somebody in here who can make it sing, who knows what they're talking about, who really is a pro, and that's what they ended up doing. And boy, it's spectacular. It's really, really beautiful. I love this song. I think the praise for it, even as we're here in 2025, is well earned. And it makes me want to hear the rest of the album. If that's how, one of these songs from the album starts, doesn't it make you want to go, okay, what else does he have to say? I've never heard it. So, sometime soon. He's only got 3 albums. And this is the type of music that personally really connects with me. I love relatively soft dynamics. I love the subtlety that we get from softer dynamics. And he doesn't go into like a real high range. He doesn't show us any virtuosity at all. But he shows us subtlety in storytelling. And the emotion still gets right through, doesn't it? It's quite impressive. So friends, that was well worth our time, I believe. I know a lot more about this song now. I know a lot more about Nick Drake now, and I'm very happy about that. 80, thank you for bringing this song to my attention a few months ago, and I look forward to looking into his music more. I've been very entertained and enthralled by looking into all of this. I hope that all of y'all have been as well. So that's going to be it for us, I believe, on this episode. We've been listening to and analyzing Riverman from the great Nick Drake. This has been Behind the Score, episode number 66. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you next time on another edition of The Daily Doug.